It's time for another category Cavalcade, this time with Drytrons, the sister series to Earth's Arctics. And DigiX told me this is going to be the last category Cavalcade for a while. You know, he's got to focus on, like, Duels of the Cyber Realm and real life
Hello,
like
everyone,
that, so, you know.
welcome to another
but this isn't the end of Cavalcade for sure.
Cavalcade.
Just, you know, last
time,
one for now.
We're going to look into my third favorite archetype ever created, and my most favorite ritual archetype, Drytrons.
They are pretty cool. Shame they destroyed the meta for a few months there.
Drytrons are a series of
art,
light
though.
entropy machine monsters that were introduced in the deck build pack Genesis Impact. With supported added in the packs Lightning Overdrive, Burst of Destiny, and Duelist Nexus, along inside tins in the TCG.
Naturally.
Also, this archetype was used by a character known as Kuroda in the OC Structures manga series.
Oh, okay.
The archetype
I don't think I got
is
that far in the
rituals,
manga.
but instead of being based on a level,
They stopped translating after a
material
while. I'm
instead
like, well, I
is
can't
based on
continue then. I
attack
can't read
damage.
Japanese.
Also attributing other copies of the archetype.
It is a pretty cool gimmick.
Or other ritual monsters from the field or hand that special summon themselves from the hand or graveyard, as they cannot be normal summoned in any circumstances. Beside from the ritual monsters whom have a 4,000 attack and defense value,
And are
each Drytron
really
has
cool.
2,000 attack and 0 defense. Although there are 2 other Drytrons that are related to the Earth's Arctics that have 700 defense.
But we don't
Now,
talk about the
it's
black
time to
sheeps.
dive into the cards of this archetype.
Alright. There's going to be all of them except the Xyz
Drytron
and the Fusion.
Alpha Thelban. Cannot be normal
The
summon
big
slash
one.
set. Must be
This
special
is your
summon with the
primary
effect of a
playmaker, if I
Drytron
remember
card.
correctly.
You contribute 1 other Drytron monster, or 1 ritual monster from your hand or field. Special summon this card from your hand or GY in defense position. Then you can add 1 ritual monster from your deck to your hand. You cannot special summon
Not
monsters,
Thub, but I think it's
except
another
monsters
one.
that cannot be normal
I think
slash
this is like
set the turn you
one of the
activate
big
this
ones.
effect. You can only use this effect of Drytron Alpha Thalban once per turn. Alrighty, after this card, I'm not going to say the whole first effect, due to all of the main deck cards,
Yeah,
with the
fair
exception
enough.
of the ritual one,
The Drytron
having
cost,
the same
or whatever you
mode,
want to
cannot
call
be
it.
normal summoned and set, attributing 1 other Drytron monster or a ritual monster to special summon themselves from the hand or GY in defense position, and locking you out from special summoning cards, except for cards that can only be special summoned with some cost or extra deck monsters.
They have a lot
I will
of
say the unique
text.
effect after they are special summoned, due to each main deck Drytron card having
This
a
is
different
part
effect.
of the reason why people say
Anyways,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
the
Needs
whole ordeal
keywords
with
like
not
magic.
just attributing another Drytron card, but also attributing another ritual monster to summon them is a nice alternate cost, since you might not know if you don't have other Drytrons in your hand, or wanting to get rid of a ritual monster you can no longer
The
use
space
on
background
your
really
feet.
fits for Drytrons.
And for this card, after special summoning it, fetching another ritual to your hand is a nice bonus. Drytron Beta Restala. After the
I don't know much
tribute
about
and
him.
special summoning, you can return 1 banished Drytron to the graveyard. Of all the Drytron monsters,
this
this
is
is
the
the one
most.
that was barely used in duels. After reading its effect, I could kind of see why.
If
but
you're
honestly,
playing
the
it, it's at
effect of returning
1,
banished
maybe
Drytron monster to
2.
the grave
It's
is
ultimately
not a
your
bad idea,
decision,
since
but
that way you could recycle it for the cost of another Drytron effect. Although, at the same time, I could see it maybe being too slow in some cases.
it just sounds slow, you know?
Gamma Altanet. After the tributing and
Oh boy,
special
this one.
summoning,
This one I've
you
seen
can
a lot of.
special summon 1 Drytron monster with 2,000 attack from your graveyard. Except for our
Okay,
copy
maybe this
of
is the one I
itself.
was thinking of.
All I have to
Whatever.
say with this one is that I do like the effect of special summoning another Drytron
Yeah,
from
it's
your
a monster
graveyard
reborn.
to either summoning a ritual or some other extra deck monster. Drytron Delta Altitus. After the tributing and special summoning,
I like this
you can
thing's
reveal
art the
1
best.
ritual monster or
one of
1
them.
ritual
We
spell
didn't,
from
well, okay,
your
maybe
hand.
not the best,
And
but
if you
I
do,
like it a
draw
lot, is
one
the
card.
point.
All I have to say for this one, I do like to
good
draw
job,
another
mostly.
card, albeit at the cost of
Gear.
revealing 1 ritual monster or a spell card from your hand. Drytron Zeta
The cost for
Alta.
revealing, you get an extra
After
draw.
the
That's not really a
tributing and
cost.
special summoning, you can add 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. With this guy, you can fetch another ritual spell card, which I find pretty handy
It
if
is
you want
pretty
to
good,
use
though,
a
to be fair.
backup when the main ritual spell of the archetype is
Yeah, especially with
overused,
that first
or
one
you
that
can't
searches
build
ritual
a
monsters,
monsters.
this guy searches ritual spells.
Ultimate Night Alpha Ursatron,
Like
aka,
the-
well, I
I like
to
this
call
thing's
Zeta
art.
Delta Res. This card is
Cool
always
name.
treated as an Archetype and Drytron card. Cannot be normal summon / set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. If you
This thing
control an
does look like a
Archetype or
fusion of
Drytron
Archetype and
monster,
Drytron,
other
even though
than
it's
a
not a
copy of
fusion.
itself, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add one Archetype or Drytron spell or trap card from your deck to your hand.
You kind of
You
have
can
to
only
put it at
use
that
this
point,
effect
then, if
on
it's a
Ultimate
searcher.
Knight Alpha Ursatron once per turn. This is the new Drytron card that was revealed alongside Arctic Polar Star. I do like this monster's effects, but personally, I feel like this card should only help out with the Drytron monsters.
I mean,
Reason
yeah,
so is that,
pretty
in my
big.
opinion,
Not that Drytrons care about
despite sharing a
levels,
few
but
similarities
usually
with each
one.
other, I don't really see that these two being related to one another.
Yeah, that's kinda
Drytron,
forced.
Medionis Tricondes. You can ritual summon this card with Medionis
It looks
Drytron.
badass.
Your
It's
opponent
hard to
cannot
screw up a
target this card
giant
with monster
robot.
effects. At the total levels of monsters used for its ritual summon are 2 or less, this card can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each.
Jeez.
During your opponent's turn, quick effect. You can banish monsters from your GY whose combined attack equals exactly 2,000 or 4,000. Then target one face-up card your opponent controls for every 2,000 attack of the total. Send that card cards to the GY. You can only use this effect of Drytron Medionis Tricondes once per turn. Despite how cool and handy this ritual monster can be, and despite for the fact it's the boss monster of this archetype,
Sadly,
I don't
Drytrons
use
are
this
not
card a
great
whole
for
lot,
their
and
ritual
it's not really
summoning.
my favorite Drytron ritual monster. Drytron
It's ridiculous.
Medionis
The entire
Quatrenus.
archetype is ritual summoning. It's like,
You
yeah,
can
that's
ritual
nice. So
summon
anyway,
this
we're gonna
card
use
with
every
Medionis
other
Drytron.
mechanic.
Your opponent cannot target this card with spells or trap cards
Isn't this
or
cool
spells
too?
and trap effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Drytron Medionis Quatrenus once per turn. At the total levels of monsters used for this card's ritual summon were 2 or less,
Which is
you
easy to
can
do in this
destroy all
archetype.
spells and traps your opponent controls. If this ritual summon card is destroyed, you can special
You
summon
can special summon the
Drytron
original.
monsters from your GY, except a copy of itself, whose combined attack equals exactly 4,000. Unpopular opinion, I personally like this Drytron ritual monster more than Draconis.
That's
I
fair.
prefer to blow away my opponent's back
preferences.
row rather than trying to send 2 face-up cards to the grave.
Yeah.
But that is just me. One thing I should
Everyone's right to
mention
their own
that
opinion.
even though you
Sometimes
can
you
use
gotta
other
get
monsters,
rid of the back row.
machines
Sometimes you
that
gotta
are
blow stuff
specific,
up.
I recommend using Drytrons and our other machine monsters that are level 2 or level 1 for their summons. So that way you can use this monster along with Draconis' effect. Also, these two having a targeting protection from monster and or spells and traps respectively is really cool.
Now the extra deck monsters. All 2 of them. The Xyz and the Fusion.
Drytron, Mu Beta Fniar. When you ritual
Fafnir.
summon, you can detach a materials from this card as monsters
Here's 2 level 1 for
required for the
reference.
ritual
2 or more.
You can only use each of the following effects of Drytron Mu Beta Fniar once per turn. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can send 1 Drytron card from your deck to the GY. When your opponent activates a spell
This thing
trap
is played
card
more than the
while you
ritual
control a machine
sometimes.
ritual monster, quick effect. You can detach 1 material from this card. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card.
And that's a little lame.
As
to
of
play
now,
for
this is
Full
sadly
Burial.
the only extra deck monster for this archetype. Besides that, I think this monster's effects are awesome. The first one where you can use its Xyz materials for a ritual summon is pretty amazing.
That is awesome.
It makes me wonder if Konami would make cards that will allow you to use the Xyz materials for
I hope they do
something
that
like
more,
Fusion,
but also at the same time,
Synchro,
given how
or heck, even a Link summon.
broken
second
though
effect
the
is sending a
Drytrons
Drytron
became,
card to
I
the
doubt they're
grave
gonna
is
be
pretty
busy
handy.
anytime soon.
And I do like that its last effect being an
But you never
activation
know with
effect,
Konami.
albeit it can only
I don't think
negate
even
spells
they
and
know what
trap
they're gonna do
cards,
next.
and it only works if you control a machine ritual monster.
But hey, it's any machine ritual monster, or are Drytrons the only ritual machine decks?
Drytron Medionis. This card can be
Figures
used
there
to
might be
ritual
like
summon
some
any
old
ritual
vanilla
monster
from like
from your hand or
2002.
GY. You must also tribute machine monsters from your hand or field whose attack is equal or exceed the attack of the ritual monster you ritual summon. If this card's in your GY,
The only
you can
ritual
target one
card that I
Drytron
believe
monster
doesn't
you
focus
control.
on levels.
It loses exactly 1,000 attack until the end of the opponent's turn. And if it does, add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect of Medionis Drytron once per turn. This is the ritual spell that would do the attack value deal. And to be honest, I do like that it went with that. Usually a ritual spell would require levels to summon a ritual monster.
So they decided to mix it up a
with
bit.
this one, say goodbye to the whole level requirement. And if you do have
It's
two
a cool
Drytron
gimmick.
monsters,
I like it.
you can use 1 or 2 of those to get one ritual monster you want to summon. Ones that are below 2,000 can just be used for one
behind them
Drytron
in the
monster
earth and all that
anyway.
jazz.
And for the second effect, I'm glad you could be able to retrieve it. Albeit you have to reduce one of the Drytron monster's attack points. I recommend lowering the attack points on one of the 2 ritual Drytron monsters. Drytron Nova. Special summon 1 Drytron monster from your deck, but destroy during the end phase.
I don't care.
You can only activate
I'm not
one
gonna stay
Nova per
around.
turn. You cannot special summon monsters except monsters that cannot be normal summoned / set the turn you activate this card.
Ooh, Drytrons would be like,
Drytron
what
Nova
cost?
is an awesome card for that way that you can use it for either Tribute Father
There's a lot of
or
Archetype that would be
extra
better if
Drytron
they just
monster
had
to
a
use for
special
an
summon
extra
this
deck
thing
summon.
from the deck.
And yeah, you can build to attack with that Drytron monster if you wish. But I recommend saving that for the final blow against your opponent. Drytron Asterism. During the main phase, target 1 Drytron monster or 1 ritual monster you control and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Your monster loses exactly 1,000 attack until the end of the opponent's turn. And if it does, destroy the opponent's monster.
This thing you probably play
You
1
can
or
only
2
activate
of,
one
but
Drytron
I
Asterism per
rarely
turn.
see it played.
I never use Asterism that much, but I do think it is cool that you can blow 1 monster your opponent controls with this card.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Drytron Eclipse. Target 1
I don't see this
Drytron
thing at
monster
all.
in the GY. Add it to your hand. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the GY, you can banish this card from the GY, then target 1 Drytron monster you control. It gains 2,000 attack until the
That's
end
kind
of
of
the
cool.
opponent's turn.
That's kind of neat.
You can only use each effect of Drytron
Like if you just
Eclipse
took away
once
all
per
your
turn.
Drytron's attack points, you could just give
Another
it back
card that I
essentially.
don't use often, but I do like that you could be able to retrieve a Drytron monster from your graveyard.
And build a
And you
little
can
power.
give
It's,
one of your
it's
Drytron
alright.
monsters a boost.
I could see it played those 1 or 2 of.
Possibly you can use that boosted monster for another ritual monster.
Yeah.
Drytron Fiona. When this card is
spell.
activated, you can add 1 Drytron spell trap card from your deck to your hand, except for a copy of itself.
Naturally.
The activation and the activate effects of ritual spell cards cannot be negated.
Nice.
Once per turn, if a monster is normal or special summon face up while you control a Drytron monster, except during the damage step, you can reduce that monster's level by 1 per 1,000 of its current attack, minimum level 1, for the rest of the turn. You can only activate 1 Drytron Fiona per turn. I like all the
These are
effects
bunch
of
of
this
monsters,
field
yeah.
spell. Fetching another Drytron spell attract card upon
If a field spell in
activation,
2023,
the
of course
protection
it
that your
searches
ritual
you a
spells
card.
will have, and reducing the level of 1 monster that either you or your opponent would summon onto the field. I personally would have reduced my own monsters if I want to use them for ritual material. Drytron Meteor Shower.
I
when
never
your
see this
opponent
played.
normal or special summons a monsters, while you control a ritual monster, negate the summon. If you do, shuffle that monster into the deck.
That is a kind of
You
cool
can
counter
activate
trap, though.
1 Drytron Meteor Shower per turn. I love for this one that
Negate
once your
and shuffle
opponent
back to
summons
the
their
deck.
key boss
Not even
monster,
destroy. Go
use
away.
this, and they go like, "Sayonara, you bastard!"
Right?
Assuming
That's
the
better
monster
than
doesn't
destroying
have
it.
protection.
Why I like Drytrons.
Now, you might be wondering, why do I like the Drytrons? Well, one of the reasons is that
They timed Earth's
I like
Arctics.
how this archetype puts a fun and unique twist of what I consider to be an old school mechanic, rather than just pulling some random shit out of nowhere. I always like ritual cards, and I haven't seen them be relevant in a long time. Aside from those Blue Eyes Chaos whatever monsters.
Right?
And the
Chaos Max had a
archetype
good
not
2
only
minutes in the
introduces
sun,
ritual summoning
and then everyone
as a
realized how to
viable
murder
mechanic,
it, and it's like, never mind.
but also flipped it on its head and made it something special.
Mm.
Another reason is that the design concept is rather interesting. The ritual spell Miniona shows the constellation of Draco, and all the main deck monsters are named after stars in that constellation.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
It's
Should have been
hard
obvious
to
given the Big Dipper,
explain,
but still.
But I guess I kind of like space. All those stars,
Space!
black holes, nebulae, and other space stuff.
Nebula.
But I digress.
Hey, space is
One
cool.
last
That's just a
reason is
fact
that
of
unlike
life.
Earth's Arctics, the Drytrons are easier to recover,
Hmm.
especially with their ability to be summoned from the graveyard. Granted, they're not quite so easy to recover if you use them randomly in other decks, but their effects do contribute well to the synergy of the archetype.
card recommendations.
If you are planning to make a deck out of this archetype like I did, here are some cards I recommend using. Chochu of the Trillion Hands, Manju of the 10,000 Hands,
I forgot about.
Lava Golem,
Yes.
Honest, Herald monsters like Herald of Purple, Green, and Orange Light, along with the
fairies,
Rituals Herald of Perfection and Ultimateness, Cyber Angels like Ben 10, I-10, and Natasha, Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon,
Odd
Eyes Gravity Dragon, Necros of Trishula, Shino Baron Beacock, Cyber Emergency, Foolish Burial, Limiter Removal,
Cyber Emergency is a Drytron card, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
Devil Zeus,
you can, but you know what I mean.
And the Nightmare monsters Phoenix, Cerberus, and Unicorn.
Respectively.
Also Borosaur Dragon.
Yes, but Borosaur can go into everything.
This archetype with other ritual-based archetypes.
You put the magic key in your base. It's just those are the rules.
With are Megalith and Herald. I did so myself, and holy shit, it's a nasty combo.
Yeah.
Heck, it was a meta strategy in the competitive scene for a while.
Right?
Until, as of this video, some cards mixed
They're
with
the reason they
got
hit.
in the ban list. But
the Ben
honestly,
10 was free.
If you don't
Eva
care
isn't.
about the ban list, you can still use these archetypes against your friends, either IRL or online. So, that's about it for this episode. Let me know what you think about this archetype in the comments below, along with what you think about this video. The next archetype I will be covering on this series will be Scraps.
Oh, that's a cool
So,
archetype.
until then,
even though it sucks.
DigiGex90 signing off.
But unfortunately, we're not going to hear from Scraps in a while. Yeah, not a Scrap guy myself, but that's just my personal opinion. If you like Scraps, you have the right to your opinion and all that jazz. Drytrons, they're a bit of a mixed bag with me, mostly because I remember they just freaking tore up, and I got a buddy who, got into them, the moment they came out, and then immediately broke them. It's like, these things are going to be busting the meta. And then they were, and then it freaking broke the meta, and then he's like, God, I hate these things now. I created them, and I hate them. Of course, he didn't actually create them, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things. They're my babies. But, yeah, even they destroyed the meta and all that jazz, and it was just kind of annoying to see them for a while, but, I'm kind of over. It was a few years ago. I'm over it mostly. I don't hate the archetype or anything like that. They're just kind of there, you know. I like the theming and all that stuff, and they're robots in space. It's kind of hard to stay mad at a robot in space. It's like two cool things. They just need a dinosaur, and they have the trifecta of always cool and a dark counterpart. So yeah, Drytrons are a pretty neat archetype. What do you guys think about it? You let me know in the comments below. It's going to be a while before we get to the next category, Cavalcade, but we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. So until next time, good work, DigiGex, and until next time, bye.